for men who refuse to stay complacent. Welcome to the Upgraded Man Podcast with your host, Chris Anderson.
Welcome back to the Upgraded Man Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. Going to dive into it today. Got a great guest to help men work through loss of marriages, of relationships, of people, of themselves, if we've lost our identity. So super excited to have Ralph Brewer on the show today to talk and help us all upgrade a little bit. So Ralph, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Super excited to chat with you. We were talking in the green room, got a lot of synergies and where we're from and locations we've been and lived and things like that. So pretty cool to kind of find those things out about people, and especially ones doing amazing things. What got you into, to jump right into it, helping men in these areas?
Well, it's a story that I hear over and over again. It's like with a lot of guys, to get your butt moving in a certain direction, for a lot of guys, it takes some kind of like what we call like a holy poop moment. And I had such a moment about 14 years ago now. I was married, had 3 little kids. Their ages were a girl who just turned 9, a boy who had just turned 6, and then a 1.5-year-old. Make a long story short, I discovered that the wifey was up to no good and with another person. And then it led to divorce, and it led to just the disintegration of the family. The ex-wife at the time was going through what you would call like a very boilerplate, like midlife crisis type of thing. So here was the person I loved more than anything going through something and changing into a whole new individual. And that was scary, leaving me with 3 little kids. Holy crap. Marriage is over. Life as I know it is just done. And so it was just a major mind F for me. And I had a really difficult time coping with it. And that really showed me a lot about myself. Like, Ralph, you're not as tough as you think you are. You never really run into something like this. It's just boom, 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 just all at once. And so I did go to therapy, which was kind of helpful. Kind of opened my eyes to some things. One of the things was, Ralph, this is a female therapist telling me this. Ralph, you are like every other dude who ever sits in that chair. You don't have like any real friends. It's like, she's like, you got friends that, you kind of know from like college and stuff, you hang out with once in a blue moon and stuff like that. But the women do a way better job of like staying in contact with their friends and like, hanging out with people and stuff like that. You're just work, kids, work. And that's about it. It's like, yeah, that's not good. And you need to work on that. And she connected me with a guy who's another client of hers, and she said, your stories are very similar. I told him that I have this other guy who's very similar. And he's like, oh, please give him my info. I want to talk to him. I need guys to talk to. So she gave me his info, and we chatted for hours on the phone, like several days in a row, just completing each other's sentences. It was just kind of scary how similar we were. And that opened my eyes to, I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of guys going through this. And so something that I used to do when I was younger was I used to love writing. So creative writing, journaling, all that kind of stuff. Just how my brain is. I like to get stuff out and put it on paper, so to speak. And I got away from it, just like a lot of things. Like guitar, I used to play guitar, got away from that and all this kind of stuff. So I started returning to things that I used to do pre-marriage. So I started blogging. Nice. And like most blogs, nobody read it. I would get on forums and write some stuff, and every now and then something would get some attention. And somebody finally said, when you talk about a particular topic, I really like it. And that topic was sex and marriage, of all things.
Right.
So everything I talked about with infidelity and what I was going through and finances and health and fitness, it's like, nobody really cared. But it wasn't until I started talking about sex and marriage that it kind of woke some guys up. And somebody said the magic words of, you should write a book on this. I really like this. And I was like, oh, I'd never even conceived of the idea. I've never written a book. Even here's Mr. Writer guy. I love writing, but never thought about a book. So I put my brain to that. I really need a mission to keep me going. I need some energy and some momentum. Otherwise I get really stagnant. And a lot of guys are like that. And that really got me going and writing, and months of writing and researching. How do I publish this thing? Do I do it can I do it on my own? Yes, you can. How do you do that? And on and on and on. And what you know, that my very first book kind of took off. For a self-published book, is pretty good. Over the years, the first edition came out in 2017, and that book was called The Dead Bedroom Fix. And I since then have wrote 3 editions of that book. They each are standalone. They're not like one right after the other, just updated versions. And about a few 100,000 guys have read it. which is pretty good for a
It
self-published
is.
book.
Yeah.
And that then brought guys into me saying, can I work with you one-on-one on some of this stuff? Never thought about that. Sure.
Yeah.
At first, I did it for free, just talking to guys. And then one guy said, it's not really fair you give away your time for free. You should charge for this. So you can see how clueless I was. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. So then I start charging people for that. And then that got pretty big. And then I hired a guy to help me out with all of this business that's coming in
Yeah.
online stuff, because I was really clueless about all of it. And he said, this book sales and coaching, it's not going to last forever, dude. You need to add some more to this. Like, you need a community. People pay you monthly for things, and that's how you really build something. So I did. Make a long story short, after years of doing that, we rebranded. My larger organization is now called Help for Men, and you guys can learn more at helpformen.com. And within that, we have a private support community for men called the Brotherhood. And on social media, a lot of guys know me under my social media handle, which is Dad Starting Over. And I've been doing that for over a decade now. And I have pretty huge followings on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. And I get some videos out there that are in the millions. So every now and then I'll have somebody go, they recognize my bald head from somewhere. Like, how do I know you? Like, I'm the guy yapping in your newsfeed. I'm like, let me guess, are you a dude going through divorce or something? They're like, yeah. It's like, I'm that guy.
That's
so to make a long story short, that's me. That's my story.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. And that you're open and you kind of just let it happen, right? And then you found where men needed you most, and that's what you're kind of doing. What did that, because you said you realized when you had a divorce that you thought you had it together. You thought you had, the control over your emotions and things like that. What was that spiral like for you in those moments after the divorce happened?
It was hell. It was.
Yeah.
It was awful. It's a level of, when I think back on it, it was like a perfect storm of stuff altogether.
Uh-huh.
It's loss. It's just like when somebody dies, like a real big part of you goes. That's traumatic. Betrayal. Oh my goodness. Betrayal is huge for men, especially when you put all your trust and vulnerability and everything into a person, and they take it and go, thank you very much. And they hurt you in a really big way. Oof. That's business, friends, whatever it is. But it seems like with a romantic connection that has a little bit extra sting. So you got that going for you. And then the stress of, hey, you know how you had another person helping you out with everything in this house? It's all you, buddy. Everything. You're mom and dad now. And that was, I look back on it and I was on autopilot. Just go, go, go. The house, the kids, just run around everywhere. It was nuts. It was really tough for me. And I learned a lot about myself during that. Like, coping wasn't a strong suit of mine. So I had to learn how to take care of myself and work with others and not be afraid to raise your hand and say help.
Yeah, I think it's a big one. It's not being afraid to ask or seek help, or because we're taught as men, probably incorrectly, that you had to be tough and you got to do it on your own and you got to forge ahead alone. And I think there's points where you have to do that, but I think there's definitely the aspect of seeking help, seeking community is so crucial, and finding it, even if it's not big, even if it's just a couple people. I think that's so crucial and critical in our journeys, and because you can hash it out, like you mentioned, me and that guy from the therapy, and you guys talked and talked and talked, which led to you blogging and writing a book and everything else. And I just think community is so important for men to have.
It is.
To talk about
And
these
it's
things.
something that it seems to be with our temperaments, we go towards, a lot of us, not all of us, go towards more of a solitary thing of like, I'll handle this. I don't want to burden others with my stuff. I don't, that's kind of weak of me. I don't want to whine to people and everything. Just, I'll handle this. I'll take care of myself. And you often hear a lot of guys say, my dream is to be all by myself in a cabin with my dog and the hell away from everybody else. It's like, I get it. I do. That's kind of attractive to me. But at the same time, I'm smart enough to realize after years of doing this and all the research and everything I've done is that community is hugely important for your mental health. Right. It's there's a thing in the prison system called solitary confinement. You've been a really bad boy and they take you away and put you in a closet away from everybody. And they know that's a huge punishment and for some people, it literally drives them nuts. And some countries have, for that reason, outlawed it. They don't allow that because they realize it's not good for our prisoners' health. They just become an even worse version of themselves when you do that. So a lot of guys do that to themselves under the guise of being more of a man, and it's nonsense. You talked about the importance of, getting feedback from others and working with others and so forth. It's so funny when I look back on my life before all this.
Yeah.
That was always there, and it was always in front of me, and it was just something I took for granted. I remember I used to do marketing work for companies, and I would go visit with the company and usually sit with the CEO founder guy, and then I would sit with him as he was doing his thing day to day. And sure enough, every one of these super successful business guys were part of like networking groups, business networking groups. And like I got my Friday group coming over, got to go to my Friday group. And I was privileged enough to be invited sometimes to just kind of tag along, like as he was kind of my mentor, one of the guys. And sure enough, it's just a bunch of guys sitting around going, what would you do if this and this? Has anybody run into this before? And
Yeah.
that expedites the process of learning, doing better, getting better in business. And the same principle applies to relationship stuff.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, speaking of that, you wrote a book because men were saying, hey, that was a really good thing. You should write a book about this, right? So you leaned into that even more, the sex, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, what,
Sex sells.
yeah, it does. That's for sure. And it also, lack of it can
Mm.
ruin relationships, right?
Mhm.
Right. I think you say, sexless marriage isn't really about sex. If it's not the sex, what's the real thing that's died then?
It's it's funny for men. A lot of men are able to kind of turn the other cheek and look the other way when a lot of nonsense is happening in a relationship,
Mhm.
and they just shrug their shoulders and go, "That's just how it is, man."
Sure.
But it's not until the old nookie stops in the bedroom that he goes, "All right, something's up here."
Right.
And you go to the wife and, something's up here, wife. And sometimes the wives are cognizant enough to look at the husband and go, dude, something's been going on here for years, man. I've been telling you. It's like, come on. And some guys are just clueless about it. Well, while others, the guys that I talk to, there's a flavor, if you will, of guys that come to me in my material. And I've learned over the years it's a certain type of dude. And it's a certain type of dude that takes in a lot of self-help material, guys that come to you and I for help.
Yeah.
And if you want to put it in psychological terms, and if you want to use something called attachment theory as kind of a template or guide for all of this, these are very anxiously attached men.
Mhm.
They use their mate to get a lot of reassurance. They need a lot of reassurance from their mate. Like, are we okay? Is everything cool? Um, when she's the type that's having a bad day, that just ruins his day completely. A very codependent mindset. And sure enough, when the sex stops, he's like, I really feel it. I really feel disconnected. I feel like I'm going to lose my partner. I feel worthless as a man because when I had that validation from her physically, that just made everything better. We could have had a bad week or two, but as soon as we do it, it's like, oh, the slate's wiped clean and he's all better. And then when that stops, holy crap, I just feel like complete garbage. A lot of anxiety and everything else. And it can lead to very real depression. And so when I wrote a book on it, it just kind of opened the floodgates of, oh, wow, this is like a huge issue for a lot of guys. Admittedly, it was somewhat of an issue for me in my first marriage, but not like what I hear from so many guys. I mean, I talk to men that are like 20, 30 plus years of not touching their spouse,
Wow.
which begs the question of, dude, what are you doing? I mean, like the writing's been on the wall for a while now. And you
Yeah.
realize he's a very codependent dude. He can't imagine life without her, even without that very crucial part, romance connection in that way. He's willing to stick it out because life without her on his own is scary. So I hear that over and over again.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And I think it's like, um, you have to kind of figure that out, right? And have those conversations and be aware, right? Like, cause that's what my mind's scared. Like, how do you go through 20, 30 years without any sort of connection like that and not go
Mhm.
like, what's going on? Or like, what
Oh,
is this
in
the
in their
norm?
defense in their defense, they do.
Okay.
These guys are talkers usually. Your more anxiously attached man is the one that comes hat in hand, as I often say to the wife, and say, "Can we? This ain't. Are you okay? Am I okay? Is it me?" Usually, that's where it leads. Is it me?
Mm,
Why don't you like me? Why don't you love me in that way? Am I gross? Do I repulse you? Like, what's happening here? And often the answer is, I don't know. It's just the way it is. Just the way I am. It's me. It's not you.
hmm,
Or the woman will. There's a phrase that I love called "moving the goalposts." So the guy can't kick the field goal,
yeah.
and so one of the very first things a lot of guys hear is, "I'm exhausted," which is totally true. A lot of women are just completely overwhelmed. Um, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm stressed out. Perhaps if you were to help take some of the load off, that would allow me to have more energy to devote to us. Your anxious man says, I hear you loud and clear, and he takes over everything. Next thing you know, you got a wife who's literally on the couch scrolling on her phone while the husband's running around cooking dinner, taking the kids to this and this, scrubbing the toilets, always looking back at wife going, now? Do you notice me now? Now? And it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
these men go nuts. I mean, one of the most obvious illustrations of it doesn't work is we have guys that are stay-at-home fathers. The wife's the breadwinner.
Yep.
And they have an even worse record when it comes to divorce and things like dead bedrooms. So it's not all the domestic chores and everything else.
Right.
So they do all that, and the wife, moves the goalpost again. Well, maybe it's that, and then the goalposts keep moving, and eventually he goes, "All right, nothing's working here. There's something deeper at play here."
Mm-hmm.
And what we've seen is for a lot of these guys, when you are an anxiously attached individual, which by the way, most are women, but when you're an anxiously attached dude, who is it that I'll be darned you tend to connect with? We see it over and over again. It's the polar opposite. And that person is called the avoidant individual.
Uh-huh.
And an avoidant does not like deep, intimate anything.
Yeah.
You want to sit and talk about? No. Let's listen to a podcast together about? No. You want to read this book that I'm reading? No, I don't. I want to be left the hell alone. And that's kind of sounds like on the surface kind of a very masculine thing. Let me be. Let me go to my garage and tinker in my car. Let me go to my wood shop. Leave me alone. It's right. That is a very avoidant thing. I don't like the deep conversations. Roll your eyes when they're like, honey, can we talk? It's like, oh God, here we go. That's a very avoidant person. And sure enough, they tend to find the very anxious person. And it's a guy. They find me in my material. And it's a very baseline dysfunctional relationship dynamic. So how do you fix it is the question. And that's basically what my Dead Bedroom Fix book, is about, is from an anxious guy's perspective, here are things that you can do to make you a more secure individual, which may in turn help fix the relationship and get you guys to a healthier spot where sex may happen as a result. Now, the problem is that it takes two to tango.
Right.
So the avoidant woman in this example needs to go, you know what, I got a problem too. This ain't good. And sometimes what spurs that is seeing a lot of self-improvement from the guy, seeing him back off and go, you want space? You got it, sister. And really work on himself and work on becoming a more secure individual and stop going to her for approval and so forth. And she has room to breathe. And she's like, I like this. I like this more independent version of himself. The guy's not hanging all over me like another child. And I'm digging this guy, and things improve.
Yeah.
Or what we see, unfortunately, is a lot of women going, oh, thank goodness he got off my back. Now I can drift even further away from him. And there's nothing you can do to reach that woman. She's like, thank goodness I was waiting for this.
Yeah.
And that's really tough for a lot of your more codependent guys to hear, is that when you get better, the other person may say, see you later.
Right.
And that's not a condemnation of getting better. That's a condemnation of them. They got some real problems, and they're not really wired for a long-term monogamous relationship, unfortunately. And some of us don't learn that until 20 years and 3 kids later.
Yep. And I think that's interesting. And I think it stems on obviously having that communication, like, hey, I've noticed these things. These are things I need to work on. Here's, what I'm seeing from your side, like what it's doing to me, how it's affecting me, and kind of just walking that together, like with some grace and mercy a little bit with it. And there's a quote that actually kind of fits it. I want to read. It's from Esther Perel. Fire needs air. Desire needs space.
There you go. Yeah, when two people are so intertwined, which seems to be the modern day template for a lot of relationships these days. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys I talk to that say, my wife and I work together. We have a business that we run out of our home. She's the whatever and I'm the whatever. And we work. So literally they're together 24/7, 365, which to some of your more codependent, anxious-y types, like, that sounds great to have my person I love next to me 24/7. It's like, yeah, but dude, you need to have some of you mixed in there. And you needs to be kind of an independent version of you, guy who goes out and does things. See you later, wife. I'm hanging out with the bros or whatever it may be, or on the gym time, or some kind of passion or something, a mission outside of you two as a couple. And some people hear me say that and are like, I don't like the sound of that. And it's like, well, that's what it takes. If you want to keep the spark alive in a relationship, that is a huge component of it, is yes, some independence, which your avoidant people just love, but you can take it to a fault, so to speak.
Yeah,
if you never see the person ever, then that's not good. you do ideally come back together as a couple at the end of the day, so to speak. So there's a balancing act with all of this stuff.
So where were you at? Did you? I don't know if I missed it. Are you an avoidant or are you the super attached more?
I'm probably more of, if you want to get technical about it, what they call more of a fearful, avoidant, leaning, anxious is probably how I would categorize myself.
Okay.
So a lot of anxious tendencies for sure. And by the way, where does all this come from is a big question a lot of guys have.
Right.
Childhood stuff. It's always
Yep.
childhood stuff. How you
Right.
just look at mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, and all your answers are there. And it becomes really clear when you when you have this knowledge and you look back on it, hindsight's 2020, and you're like,
Yep.
now it makes sense. And
Right.
often what we hear from a lot of these I'm talking to an anxious guy and he's talking about his wife.
Yep.
And he's telling me his wife is just the most unromantic, unsexy human being, especially after kids. And she just wants nothing to do with him in that way at all, ever. And he just can't figure out why she's that way,
Mm-hmm.
because every piece of anything out there, content that he sees and everything is like talking about how important romance is. Why doesn't she see it like I do? And I say, well, dude, let's talk about her mom and dad. You get to talking to the guy and he grins and he finally goes, I have never seen her mom and dad ever hug or ever kiss. No pats on the butt, none of that stuff.
Right.
It's like, yeah, dude, she sat back and watched that her entire childhood into young adulthood. And so you're wondering like where it came from. There you go. How are the marriages with her siblings? Like, well, divorce, on the brink
Right.
of divorce. Like, there you go, dude. I mean, it sounds sad. It's like we are a prisoner to our upbringing, but it's kind of the imagery I often use is it's like you're in a car that the balance is way off.
Yeah.
You take your hand off the wheel, you go crash into a tree. So
Right.
you always have to keep your hand on the wheel and make little course corrections. And that takes know-how. That takes like a lot of introspection. Like, I'm wired in a certain way. Gotta readjust, gotta put myself back on the road. And
Yep.
most people don't have those skills. They don't have those tools in their toolbox. So they just crash over and over again, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and it's such a big shift to do that, right? Because you've been conditioned through all this. Like, so with your story, you get divorced. Now you have, the kids in the house without your wife. Things sound different. They feel different. What was going through your head, some of those first nights that you were without your spouse, your ex-wife?
The big thing that everyone faces is, why the hell did this happen? Well, let me back up. Probably the first step is, what exactly is happening? Because often guys in my position are kind of clueless. Like, we know it's done and we know that she's doing what she's done, but what exactly happened here? And unfortunately, every guy does the same thing that I talk to. We're so anxious in our temperament that we become little private detectives. And we get a hold of phones and logs and things and all this stuff. And most guys end up finding out things that they really wish they didn't know. So, but now they have the full, complete picture of what happened there. Technically, okay, now why? What did I do to cause this? That's usually where a lot of guys go. How am I at fault here? Because maybe if I can figure out the fault and where I went wrong, I can fix this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize, no, I can't. Crap, she's an autonomous human being with her own agency. She made a lot of decisions and I had no control over any of that, unfortunately. That's really tough for a lot of guys to come to terms with. I'm helpless, so to speak, for a lot of this stuff that happens in life. And the answer is, yeah, but you're not helpless as far as moving forward. Like, from here on, it's all you, buddy. How you handle this. Are you going to start drinking too much? That's on you, buddy. Are you going to start eating too much? Are you going to just sit at home and watch TV all night and just, cry yourself to sleep every night? That's on you, buddy. You don't have to do any of that. Yeah. Or are you going to be a man and, get some help with this and be a good, this is the framing that gets a lot of guys to wake up. Be a good frame or a good role model for those kids, because their world has just been rocked and their safety and security is just gone. And so if they're going to look at dad and go, Dad, what do you got for us? And he's, just off his rocker and he's acting goofy and he's everything else and depressed and drinking too much. It's like, who do they have to turn to? So why not just take it upon yourself to go, my new mission is to show these kids, watch this. This is how a real man handles this stuff. Yeah. Sit back and watch, kids. I'm not going to let you down. And if you got problems, you can come to me. I'm going to be your steady foundation through all of this. That really gets a lot of guys going, that kind of framing of the situation. That's kind of what I did. It's just
Yeah.
I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm not going to
Yep.
let this, destroy me. And it's not to say that it's just from there here on out. It's just like a trajectory like this. Oh no, it's like this
Yeah.
up, take 10 steps back and then 2 step forward. And then it's, oh, this is a great month. And then a not so great month. And
Right.
then a really great few weeks. And then a not so great few weeks. And that's life, man. And that,
Yeah.
some of us got to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Because, with yours, I believe you said there's infidelity. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
In the relationship. So how did that, because that would, I feel like would be a blow, like
You think?
to, like, yeah, seriously. So how did you navigate that? Obviously you went to therapy. Was that right away to
Yeah.
get help? Or were
Mhm.
you like really kind of beating yourself up like, whoa, where am I falling short? Like, why did, those kind of thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I went through all of that. Like
Yeah.
it's every guy goes through the same thing.
Sure.
Let's be fair, women too that experience this.
Sure.
How is he or she better than me?
Right.
Um, which for men, the flavor of that goes into he must be more of a man than me. He
Mm.
must be more alpha male than me, to use that term. He must be stronger, tougher, richer, more handsome, more whatever than me. Woe is me. I'm lower than him. That's your first knee jerk thought. It's
Mhm.
funny, but a lot of guys, when they discover who the affair partner is and everything, they always go, him? Like, really? Um,
Yeah.
and then you realize it's not so much the qualities of him are so much better, whatever. It's like it's difficult to put it in one succinct kind of here's how why it happened,
Right.
but it's a jigsaw puzzle of reasons. And some of those pieces, a lot of those pieces are she's got problems, dude. And it goes back to a lot of her childhood issues and so forth. And you saw it from day one. You just ignored it.
Mm.
She has a lot of problems with intimacy. She has a lot of problems with staying in a secure relationship once it gets, yes, boring, quote unquote, once it gets comfortable. You saw her shut down as soon as you said I do, as soon as you had kids, as soon as you saw her just distance herself. Things are getting real. And her little broken girl mind inside doesn't like that. She wants to
Mm.
control everything and she wants to keep her distance and all this other stuff. So that's a big, big part of it. Another is novelty is a huge thing for people. This is the reason why boundaries in relationships are so damn important. And it's not to say that we are all 100% capable of things like infidelity and doing things to step outside of the relationship, things that are bad for the relationship. But no, yeah, we're all susceptible,
Right.
and no matter how pure of heart and what are the words and moral and so forth that you say you are, I can find the right combination of things to get you doing not so nice guy stuff in a relationship. And when you open yourself up to a lot of temptation and things like that, away you go. Unfortunately,
Yep.
some of us, it doesn't take much at all. And for a lot of guys I talk to, they discover their wife was one of those.
Hmm.
And it's not always the sexual realm, too. It could be gambling, overeating, drinking too much, whatever. Some of us are just more susceptible to that than others. And for some of us, we discover like, yeah, wow, my spouse met a person and they just went off the rails. Man, they just left the house in the middle of the night and they're just texting nonstop all day long. And they, who is this person? This is crazy. This person has a PhD and a track record of so many years of stable life. But as soon as they found the thing that gets them going, whatever that is, in the wrong direction, man, they just take off. And unfortunately, for some, it's substance abuse. But soon
Right.
as my wife started drinking too much, and now she's, we're divorced, and she's in and out of rehabs and all this other stuff. And with my ex and people like her, that was their flavor of thing that sent them down the wrong path.
Mm.
And notice what a lot of that, what I'm talking about, is not me. I didn't drive her to that necessarily,
Right.
but what I do take ownership of is, yeah, I wasn't the best husband in the world. I wasn't the strongest guy in the world. I wasn't a person that she could lean on. I was a little spazzy, anxious dude who was just trying to keep my job and take care of the kids and everything else. And I forgot my wife in a lot of ways. And that's on me. And I wasn't, again, the strongest individual for her when she had her weaker little girl moments, so to speak.
Sure.
She's having one of her moments and she's like, who do I turn to for all this? And she looks at me and goes, can't turn to him. So
Mm.
that opens doors to possibility of connecting with
Right.
others and doing bad things. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, okay, I guess I gotta find a boyfriend now. It could
Right.
be, again, the substance abuse, looking to get thrills with
Something to fill that
overspending,
void. Yeah.
something to fill the void. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. And so Do you think there would be any moments, obviously it's hindsight and, it is what it is,
Mhm.
what it's life, but that you could have fixed and the trajectory of the relationship could have changed and you guys
Good
stay together?
question. Maybe, but at baseline, when I look back on this, and it's going to sound like an excuse, but I'm being 100% honest here. At baseline, when I look at it, the relationship was somewhat doomed from the beginning. And a
Okay.
lot of guys, I think, with hindsight, will say the same thing. And it's
Yeah.
not because she's a horrible person or whatever. It's just at baseline, there were some fundamental incompatibilities there that were masked because we were two people probably who were insecure at their foundation and found somebody who I filled a niche for them, filled a little need for them or whatever. I was a guy who, young man who, when I look back on it, I look at myself and I say, I was a cute kid and I had girlfriends and things like that, but nothing ever worked. Nothing ever clicked. It was always a lot of nut job after nut job, and it just left me going, ugh. And then I meet someone who's like very level headed, very type A, very go getter, and I like that. And that was there like a really strong romantic oomph there? Not really.
Mm.
And I hear that from a lot of guys. Strangely, I hear from a lot of guys when a lot of guys will emote to me about my wife is terrible because insert 1,000 reasons and all these things. And I'm
Sure.
like, okay, time out, dude. You've sold me on the fact that she ain't for you. So why in the world did you pick her to be wife?
Yeah.
And a lot of guys say the same thing. Well, she was very low drama. We got along great, similar senses of humor. It was really great friends in that way. And then it's just what you do, man. You just get married.
Yep.
When you find that one that kind of feels comfortable and not a lot of turmoil there, whatever, you just like, well, this is it. Let's get the family machine running here. You get married, you start having kids.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was my mindset as well. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
And to be completely vulnerable, she probably deserves someone who looked at her as that's my woman.
Mm.
That's see her across the room and go, there she is.
Right.
I'm lucky to have her. And that wasn't me.
Yeah.
And she needed some of that. And I did too, ironically. And we weren't that for each other. We were really good buddies, really good friends, compatible in a lot of ways, but romantically, nah, it just wasn't there.
Yeah. And it's crazy, like relationships, whether it be, with your spouse, your partner, or with friends, like so much of your life kind of is determined kind of by those relationships.
Mm,
As you hear, if you hang around four out of shape people, you're going to be the fifth, right? You hear that.
mhm.
You hang around for people who are really good with their money and finances, you're going to be the fifth. And Tony Robbins has a quote again that I like. It's the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships.
Mm.
And I think sometimes, especially with dating and marriage and stuff, people rush into it, maybe because of the pressure of
Mhm.
society saying you have to get to that. Do you find that to be true as well, or do you have a different take on those?
Absolutely, there's a pressure. Probably less so now, to be honest with you. I mean, we have a
Sure.
lot of young people that just aren't. Not only they're not getting married, not only they're not having kids, but they're just not dating.
Okay. Yeah.
They're just eschewing that whole world completely. Sadly,
Yeah.
I don't have the stat in front of me. I don't want to state it incorrectly, but there is an alarmingly high number of men, dare I say, over half of a certain age group, certain young adult men who report zero dates, zero romantic interactions the previous year,
Yeah.
and that's not good. So in my generation, I'm 50 years of age, Generation X. Yeah, that was the overall thing was like in unspoken. Although you did get some pretty direct pressure from family members.
Yep.
Your girlfriend is awesome when you're getting hitched. You hear
Hmm.
that 12
Right.
times and it kind of
Right.
sinks in of like, I guess this is what you do.
Yeah.
As soon as you get married. So when are you having kids? When am I going to be a grandma? You hear that too. So it's just kind of baked into our whole thing. It's like, that's what you do, man. And there's that doesn't end with just your young adulthood either. I have men that are freshly divorced and they feel pressure to settle down again. And then, a really common thing we hear is a lot of 40-something-year-old guys, and they're a man, so their dating age range is kind of wide. And so they'll meet a girl who's 30, woman who's 31, 32 years of age, and he's 43, and he falls in love. And you know what she says? I don't have a kid yet. I don't have this. I'm getting up there in age. It's time to do this. And he feels pressure to do that.
Yep.
And he does that with little to no courtship, no getting to know her really. But he feels great when he's with her. And unfortunately for a lot of men, I feel great when I'm with her is all the thought they put into it. They don't really vet their
Yeah.
partner too much. And
Oh,
there's a number that I throw out that just angers a whole bunch of people, especially women, which is give it a good 36 months, 3 years of getting to know a person, date, seeing what their life, what they're like in life, in and out, how they handle the tough stuff, meet their family. There's a novel concept. Meet their siblings and their extended family. Hang out with them. Go on vacations with. Because you're really putting each other through the ringer to see, like, what are you made of? Are you
yeah.
a person I want to commit to? And you don't, in my opinion, and some people disagree, you don't find that out in 6 months. And
Yeah.
I don't think you find it out in a year, 3 months, 36 months, 3 years goes by pretty fast. That's when I think you really see a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I
I,
think why a lot of people disagree with that is because it butts heads with the I'm
sure.
not getting any younger, I want to have a baby crowd.
Right.
To which I say, I know it's unfortunate, but dude, I'm looking out for these men who just have a lot of problems in relationships and dynamics of relationships in general. And they're looking for some kind of guidance. Men love numbers and they love black and white kind of thinking and so forth. So, okay, then give it 3 years. And if you're of the opinion, like, I really want to do this right the first time, and you got a woman that's like, we've been together for 6 months, let's move in together. Let me bring my two little kids in with me. I know you're madly in love, but that's the point where you say, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. And that's tough. It's way easier said than done.
Yeah. It's crazy, like, back in the day where they did, like, arranged marriages and stuff, like, the families would, like, vet the person,
They
and it
did the
was,
work
like, by
for them. Yeah.
status, and it was by, physical abilities and stuff, and, I think there's some merit to that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
They wanted
Mhm.
the best for their kids, and, I think on the flip side, we're seeing a lot is people rushing into it just based on the feeling in a short term instead of looking at a big picture, long
Yeah.
term facts, I guess, or data checking, like, meeting the parents, meeting the family, seeing how they are as they age, because we're all going to be like our parents in some way. So yeah, I think a mix of that, taking it
Mhm.
serious and looking at all the, quote unquote red flags, green flags, all the things. And then how do they make you feel as well? I think meshing that all together and taking time and not rushing it because it's a big decision.
So what you've done is you've defined that the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I keep finding myself saying that about like everything in this relationship game. It's somewhere in the middle there. You got these guys that are super nice guy pushover types, but they don't want to
Mm,
be an a-hole, stomp all over women. And well, the a-hole has some stuff there that you need to learn from, which is confidence, low anxiety, boundaries, not afraid to put himself out there. If you don't like it, fine. Next. There's something to
yep.
be learned from those guys. And there's something to be learned from the really empathic, sweet, nice guy type. Somewhere in the middle is the sweet spot, it seems. Same
Yeah.
thing with vetting your partner.
Yep.
It's interesting, and this is something I get a lot of pushback from guys on because I think it really hits below the belt. You have a lot of guys that say my grandma and grandpa were together for 60 plus years,
Yeah.
and I go, yeah, I get it, dude, but I'll tell you what, I've spoken to a lot of said grandmas and so forth, and you know what you hear, and it's sad to say this out loud. Grandma, you and grandpa were together for so long. What's your secret? I had no choice.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that's sad, man. You hate to say that out
Right.
loud, but it's sad.
For
A lot
sure.
of these relationships of the past that we look at that were together for multi decades and spitting out so many kids and grandkids, you look at their dynamic and he needed her and she really needed him.
Hmm.
And that was a huge driver for a lot of relationships through most of human history.
Yeah.
Now we're entering into a period where it's I'm with her because I want her, and she's with him because she wants him.
Yep.
And that sounds great on the surface, but that makes the game a whole hell of a lot tougher because you got a woman who's vice president of sales for his Acme company, and she's looking across the table at this guy going, I don't really need him in that way anymore. So he's got to got a good head on his shoulders, a nice, sweet guy, a kind guy, a non-pushover kind of guy, and he's got to look decent, and he's
Yep.
got to want some adventure in life because I love to travel and do things, and and the list gets pretty long. And then the guy's like, I've been divorced and everything else. I'm looking for somebody who's going to be Also have the energy. I want somebody who's somewhat youthful, not just giving up on life and sitting on the couch watching TV all day and that
Yep.
and on and on and on and on. So now we have these two people with big lists coming together, and it's kind of hard out there to find people. And that's what I hear from a lot of people in their 30s and 40s, post divorce especially. It's like, this is kind of tough. And I want a lot of people seem to be, and we see this when you study human beings in history
Yep.
as well as modern day cross culture. It would seem that we are wired as human beings to want some kind of life partner to go through life with.
Yep.
Now, whether or not that means sexual monogamy strictly, that's another story. But
Right.
it would seem that there are cultures all over the place. We all seem to have little ceremonies that say it's you and me against the world. I want to find somebody to pair up with, to face life with. And we all seem to be drawn to that. We all go through our phases of dating and sleeping around and all that stuff. Not all of us, a lot of us do. And eventually what do we say? You settle down
Yep.
and you want to find somebody. And it's that settle down period where, that's tough. There's a whole lot of casual people out there that are ready to
Right.
roll in the hay with you. But as far as settle down with you and face life together, that's pretty tough to find.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because we have shows. I don't know if you've seen this reality show called Love is Blind.
Heard about it.
Heard of it. Okay. So basically two people, they have, or a bunch of guys, a bunch of girls, they pair up in these different pods to date, quote unquote, different people, find out about them, ask them questions, but they can't see each other. And they can't see each other until the end where, one guy might propose to their number one choice. She says yes, and they can see each other. And then they start dating for a couple weeks, and will they get married at the end or not? And I'm like, what? Like, I get it. Love is blind, but it's like such a condensed thing. Kind of what we're talking about. They're forcing people in a relationship so fast. Like, I don't think the percentage is very high. What is your thought on that, though? The love is blind piece of like,
No.
yeah.
I'm
like,
sorry. It
well,
sounds
why
very
won't
romantic.
like this
It's
is
like something
so
out of a
like,
Disney movie or a Hallmark movie or whatever. Like
yeah,
I've fallen in love with the real them in here.
yeah,
Like all this exterior is bullshit. Oh, excuse my
uh-huh.
language. I don't
No, you're
care
good.
about any of that. Right?
Yeah,
No, it's nonsense.
yeah,
From what I've seen, it seems to be the standard template for relationship beginnings is, who's that over there? He or she's pretty cute. Hey, introduce me to that person over there. So there is a very shallow dynamic thing to all of this, which is,
sure,
right? And the usually starts from something kind of physical. Now, there's a whole bunch of people, and then once you get to know them, you're like, never mind. But so we're just throwing out the whole introductory step and jumping right to the getting to know them phase.
yeah,
But there are plenty of people that I have known in my life, females, that I really connect with at an intellectual level. And we can sit down and just talk for hours. But
yep,
if you pulled me aside and said, Ralph, you should ask her out, I'd be like, no, thank you. And because there's something missing there that takes them from good friend that I can talk to for hours category to romantic partner.
yeah,
And unfortunately, a big component of that is the physical. And that's something I address in my book, The Dead Bedroom Fix. I talk about things you can do to fix your situation. And I devote a whole chapter to the physical,
yeah.
which pisses a whole bunch of people off.
I was gonna say, because
Because they
people are
see
probably like, well, we all age and we're not gonna be the same fitness later and look as good as we do now. And I'm like, I
yeah,
get
but
it, but
in my defense, I'm not saying in the book, like become a bodybuilder or look like a
right.
Greek god,
Yeah, yeah,
but be healthy and look like you take care
yes,
of yourself.
right,
Hygiene and how you dress and how
yep,
you present yourself to the world. Like, look at me, world. I'm confident and I stand tall. And well, you stand taller and you're more confident when you lose those 40 extra pounds and you hit the
mhm,
gym and you start pushing and pulling heavy things and you feel good
yeah,
simply because your body was engineered to do that. And when you don't do that, you feel goofy, basically. A lot of
yeah,
anxiety and everything else sets in. It's not good.
yep,
You shove a bunch of garbage in your mouth, you're going to feel like garbage.
yeah,
So that's a huge component of it. It's interesting. I get so much pushback from a lot of guys that are like, read your dumb book, hated it, threw it down after the first part where you talk about getting in shape. I knew it. Your book is just more shallow nonsense about this and this and this. I had one guy who was a professor at Harvard of all things, who said, read your book, garbage, more misogynistic nonsense, blah, 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 blah. And I noticed in his critique, it was all about that one chapter. And I replied to him, this was years ago, and I replied to him saying, it is obvious that you stopped at the first part. You didn't keep going. I think that is really illustrative of you got a real problem with maybe self-image.
mm,
And when somebody puts a mirror in front of you, you don't like it.
Yeah.
And there's more to the book than that. Keep going. And he basically admitted, like, yeah, you're right. And no, I'm not going to keep going because I'm tired of this shallow nonsense that's out there. You're just perpetuating what everyone says, which is the physical is important. And no, it's not. It's deeper, just what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
a lot of people are in denial of that. And when you put it in front of them, they get pretty angry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a huge component of all of this.
Yeah. That's crazy too. Cause like I talked the other day to someone, we were talking about it, how when people are negative towards something you're doing with upgrading, I was guessing on another podcast, that's what it was. And they asked me, I said, well, a lot of times when you're trying to upgrade and be better and improve things, that reflects in other people places where they're falling short and they know it,
Mm.
but they're not going to admit that. They're just going to kind of throw shade and throw stones at your house. And that's kind of, I feel like with your book, the same kind of thing. It kind of starts burning in those areas of people who are, might not even understand or realize they're dealing with those issues, but
Mhm.
something inside of them gets angry because of it, and it kind of reflects back on themselves, sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a whole subset of people that are very low in empathy,
Yeah.
it would seem, and when they see weakness in others, they really are turned off and they get really mean about it.
Yeah.
And those people, you realize, have a very low self-image. They are at baseline, deep down inside, very insecure people. And when they see a lot of insecurity and weakness in others, that makes them feel a little insecure and weak and shows them what humanity and what they are capable of, I guess you could say, deficiencies within themselves, and it makes them feel really yucky. And they spaz out and they start getting really mean and lash out violently, angrily, and you realize, like, oh, I really tapped into something here, didn't I? And you see that
Yeah.
again and
Yeah.
again and again.
Yeah. I've had moments like that, and I'm like, why? Wait, Chris, like, why are you acting that way? Like, what inside of you is making you feel that way to respond in that way or think that thing? Like, what is going on? And really trying to get to the deepness of it, because I've learned, like, same with, like you mentioned, like looking at parents relationships and grandparents, and like everything kind of ties into how we were raised and brought up and shaped our worldview and our thought process. So like kind of breaking all that down. And sometimes it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just in a rush too much, like driving if someone cuts you off, or
Mhm.
things like that. Or maybe it's like, oh yeah, I am getting upset because they said that, because I've seen myself as inadequate in that space, whatever it is. And so it's coming up as negativity instead, but it's just my insecurity of how I act in that space. So it's a really interesting, I guess, thing to do in those moments. So, uh, being able to say, like, okay, why am I reacting that way? Like, this isn't
Mhm.
the best reaction. Why am I doing that? Um, and I think guys can do that, in their day to day, if they're feeling sad or frustrated or mad, like, what's causing me to do that? And sometimes it's just as simple as it's just something bad happened, and that's understandable. But what is something you would guide men to do this week if they're noticing something in their relationships a little bit off, or they have for a
Mhm.
while? What would be the first thing you tell them this week to work on?
Well, for the particular men that I work with, it's
Mhm.
probably take a timeout, dude.
Yeah.
It's okay. Your world's not gonna end. I know she's giving you the cold shoulder today, and you're, like, wondering, "Where'd I go wrong? What's going on? I must fix this now." Let's give the woman some space. She's a human being. Maybe she's having a bad day. Everyone has bad days, and it's not the end of the world. That's something that I find myself saying to a lot of guys. It's not the end of the world. Worst case scenario, she's so upset and she's about to leave you. Even if that happens, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but honestly, with 99% certainty, that's not what's going on. She is, I have a lot of men that go through this when the woman is in her mid late 40s and is going through perimenopause, which is a
Mm.
time in her life when there's a lot of hormonal shifts and she has
Sure.
bad days and bad weeks. And if you're a very sensitive person, you take that personally.
Yeah.
And when she's cold at the dinner table and and the reality is that she's cramping and she doesn't feel good and she just wants to go lay down and she's very irritated by everybody right now and she doesn't want to hear all your yapping. She just wants some silence, damn it. But she realizes she can't say that bluntly to you because you're a sensitive guy. And so she's just going to clam up and shut up and look pissed off. And that's on her, dude. It's not you. And it's not always about you. And it's not for you to fix. And it's not for you to, freak out over and go on YouTube and try to figure out how to fix this or whatever. It's like sometimes, dude, just let people be. Just
Yeah.
take a time out. Why don't you go shoot some hoops or go on a walk or whatever it is, take your mind off of things. And usually after some time, they come down from it and they realize, yeah, this ain't no big deal. What am I doing freaking out about this? But that's a very introspective thing where you sit in your yucky feelings, as I often say, and go like, what's going on with me? That's a really mature look at all this. And that's something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people point across the aisle and go, they're causing me to feel yucky right now. So they need to fix themselves so I don't feel so yucky anymore. And it's like, no, that's not how that works, man. You're an adult now. You need to take ownership of yourself and go, why am I feeling really bad right now? What is it about this situation that's making me anxious? All right, dude. It may be as simple as, well, I didn't really sleep well last night. Yeah, you're probably running on low battery right now and you're a little cranky. When's the last time you ate, dude? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did skip lunch. Well, there you go, man. Like those little things, they do add up and they cause a lot of problems. So in general, I would tell guys, like, take a time out and try and figure out what the hell's going on with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point. And start there and don't overthink it. Don't rush down the rabbit holes. Just take it one step at a time. I love that. And, this has been, Ralph, this has been a great episode. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and we could go on and on, about these different topics and stuff, but we're going to kind of wind stuff down. And, what we do here at the Upgraded Man, is we have an Upgraded Man journal. And so every guest leaves something for the next guest to respond to. And so, we're moving into that segment now, and I'm super excited to hear your response to Thomas Edwards, who was just on the show. He talks about relationships too. Actually, if you haven't connected with him, he's a good guy. He's about keeping like gaming, like keeping fun, keeping things alive in your marriage and relationships. It was a really cool perspective from him as well. But I'm going to read you what he left you, and then let you respond however you feel like, and then ask you if you have anything for the next guest, and we'll put it in the journal.
Okay, very good.
So Thomas left this for you. He said, God put you here to play one game in life that matters, and that's your game, no one else's. All you have to do is play and never stop playing.
So what does that mean for me? To play and never stop playing? There are different ways you could take that.
Yeah.
Play in general usually means what? Like youthfulness. Like don't use your don't lose your joie de vivre, your joy of life. I think that's really important. So many men that I talk to are so damn serious, day in and day out, just thinking and analyzing and worrying and everything else. And when's the last time you had a good belly laugh? When's the last time like you laughed so hard that you almost peed yourself and you're crying and you're cramping? And when's the last time you really sat and just enjoyed time with your kids and watching them play and do all this other kind of stuff without just sitting and think about work? So many guys go through the motions playing with their kids, and in the back, and they're sitting, as the kids blabbing away, and in the back of their mind, they're thinking about, I got to complete that report tonight before I go to bed. And I got the meeting first thing at 8, and I got to get up a little earlier today. It's like, when's the last time you just shut it all down and just had fun and play? And that works in relationships as well. We lose our playfulness with our partner. Those little funny little rituals and inside jokes and little things that you giggle about together just get lost in all the minutia of life. And that's unfortunate. So don't lose I would say to guys, and what it means for me is, don't lose your playful edge when it comes to that, and treating life as a funny game that it is. And that can have a serious twist to it, sure. But I like the aspect of playfulness and just keeping things light and enjoying life. I mean, do you realize how privileged we are as human beings in this day and age? It's ridiculous. Sure. I get to make a living sitting here staring at a glowing box 8 hours a day, my computer. That's nuts. Like, what?
Right.
If we was like 100 years ago, people look at you like you're crazy. It's like, no, you got to go out and work yourself to death. And it's like, no, I barely lift a finger. I'm sitting here making a living doing this, and I get to talk to thousands, sometimes with videos and stuff, millions of people. Are you kidding me? And help people, and I get paid for that.
Right.
It's like, this is nuts. I'm the most blessed, fortunate dude on the planet Earth. And I'm one of many that are doing this kind of thing like it. So why not be playful? Why not enjoy life?
I love that. Yeah, I think it's important. And that's something even, I've been learning over the last couple of years, is just how to have a little bit more fun, while building business, being a father, coaching, all that stuff. So it's cool message for sure. And it's part of Upgrade Man, right? Living fully and having fun and enjoying and having the experiences. So I love that response. What is it you would like to leave for the next guest, whether it be a quote, a comment, or a question?
I would say a question, and this is something that I'm framing it in terms of all the guys that I work with, because a lot of
Sure.
guys that I work with are very focused on I'm what I do for others, which
Sure.
is great, right?
Yep.
But here's the question that kind of turns around to the guys is, what have you done for yourself today? And just leave it at that.
I love it.
Because there are so many men that think that selfish
Mm,
stuff is inherently negative. That the
yeah.
moment that they point inward, that they feel very shameful about it. Because again, back to childhood stuff, somebody along the way made them think that as soon as you take a time out and do something for yourself, solely for yourself, for enjoyment or whatever it is, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
You
You
should
waste
be
time. You should be doing that.
waste of time, dude. Like you're supposed to be what? Making money for the family. You're supposed to be helping to fix, helping to
Yep.
do this and that, and whatever it may be. Like get to work, dude.
Yep.
And it's okay to go, no, I'm a little time out for dad. Everybody leave
Yep.
dad alone. I'm going to go do this. And there's absolutely nothing shameful about it. And if you want to look at it from a productivity point of view, we have every point of data that shows us when you do that, you become a more productive individual. So
100%.
taking those little timeouts for yourself, your next 7 hours of work become that much more productive.
Yep. I love it. I'm right with you on that. I agree 100%. And love that. So I'm excited to see what my next guest answers that. So thank you for leaving that for them.
Thank you. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you having me.
Yeah. And thanks again. Yeah. For being on the show. If people want to connect and learn more, I know you mentioned it earlier. Mention it one more time for us where they can go and find you, connect with you.
Mhm. Our main website is helpformen.com, and that's FOR, not the number 4. So helpformen.com, and our brotherhood group, which is helpformen.com/join if you're interested in learning more on how to join that. But a lot of people know me through my social media handle. You'll find, just search for Dad Starting Over. Any kind of social media, whatever you're on, you'll find me. Just look for the bald head.
Awesome. Yeah. Everyone, make sure you do get connected. Guys, if you're going through something, um, in marriage and life and this is a good fit, reach out for sure, get connected to the community, and just start healing and growing. So again, Ralph, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if you're not yet, make sure you're following the show. This helps us just keep doing this, so we can help more people, and share this episode with a guy who you know might need to hear this, so we can help a lot more people that way. So appreciate everyone listening. Until next time, continue to go out there and upgrade your life, and we'll talk to you again soon.